Good morning, grade 8. So, for today's topic, let's start our lesson with these two sentences. Okay, so let's read together. My little brother made dinner. Dinner was made by my little brother. Okay, so in the first sentence, our subject is little brother. And our verb is made. Dinner is the object or the receiver of the action. How about in sentence number 2? Dinner was made by my little brother. So our subject is dinner. And our verb is was made. Our receiver or the object of the verb is little brother. But dinner here is not the doer of the action. It is still the little brother. Okay? So, what do you think is our topic for today? Let's find out. The two sentences that I have discussed is in active and passive voice. So today, we're going to talk about active and passive voice. First, we have the active voice. All right, so this is the voice that we use most of the time. Okay, so the subject is the doer of the action and the object is the receiver. So in active voice, it means that the sentence has a subject that acts upon its verb. Like for example, the sentence number 1, a while ago, the boy or rather my little brother made dinner. So that is active voice, wherein the subject is the doer of the action and the object is the receiver. So that is active voice, the voice that we use most of the time. Sentences in the active voice have strong, direct, and clear tone. So when we want to say that the subject of the sentence is doing the action, it is the active voice of the verb. Who does the action? It's the subject. Alright? So like for example, a man is cutting down a tree. Who is cutting down a tree? A man, okay? The subject, right? So that is active voice. Now let's have the format of active and passive voice. So let's have first the active voice. So doer of an action or the subject plus verb plus the receiver of action or the object of the verb. Like for example, Baldo drives the cart. So Baldo is the subject followed by the verb and followed by the receiver of the action. Now let's have some examples of active voice. So first, monkeys adore bananas. So subject, monkeys. Okay, verb adore and bananas is the receiver or object of the verb. Next, the cashier counted the money. Okay, cashier is the subject, counted is the verb, and money is the receiver. Another one, the dog chased the squirrel. So dog is the subject, chased is the verb, and squirrel is the object. All right. Now let's have the passive voice. So passive voice, okay, the subject receives the action of the verb. Like for example, in sentence number 2, we have dinner was made by my little brother. So again, the subject receives the action of the verb. It is passive voice. Alright, so when we want to say that the subject of the sentence is not doing anything, but it is allowing something to be done to it by somebody else, we use the passive voice of the verb. So here, the subject is not the doer of the action. Like for example, a tree is being cut down by a man. So our subject is tree, but the tree is not the doer of the action. It is still a man. Alright, so that is passive voice form. And let's have the format of passive voice form. So first, the receiver of the action plus the be form of the verb plus the past participle of the verb, and then you put by followed by the doer of the action. So like for example, we have here the cart is driven by Baldo. Okay, so we have cart is the receiver of the action. Okay, so is the V, or rather the be verb. Driven is the past participle, followed by, and followed by the doer of the action, which is Baldo. Okay, so again, the cart is driven by Baldo. So it is an example of passive voice form. Now let's have some examples. First, bananas are adored by monkeys. So bananas are, or rather subject, are adored is our verb, and monkeys our receiver. Next, we have the squirrel was chased by the dog. So squirrel subject was chased is our verb, and dog and is the receiver. Next, we have the money was counted by the cashier. So money is the subject, was counted is the verb, and cashier is our receiver. All right. So those are some examples of passive voice. Now let's convert passive, or rather active, to passive form. Okay. So we have here example number 1. The boy is carrying the girl. So the boy is the subject, and is carrying is our verb, and the girl is our object. Now let's change it into passive form. So here the girl is being carried by the boy. So the girl here, which is the object of the verb in the first sentence, will be our subject in the second sentence. Okay? And our verb, which is carrying, or rather is carrying, will be changed into is being carried. So be is being is the be form of the verb, and carried is the past participle of the verb carry. Okay, so carry here is a regular verb. That's why it forms its past participle by just adding ed. Okay, and the boy, which is the subject in sentence number 1, became the object in sentence number 2. So you have to be careful in changing your verb. All right? Okay. So let's have example number 2. We have John reads a book every day. And let's change it into passive. A book is read every day by John. Next example we have, he cooks food, and food is cooked by him. So here, when the subject of a sentence is singular, the verb must also be in singular. Okay? And when the subject of a sentence is plural, the verb that sentence must be the verb of that sentence, rather, must also be plural. Like for example, we have here, he carried some books. So some books were carried by him. All right. So some books is now the subject in sentence number 2. Therefore, we have to use were carried. Okay. Now let's have some changes in verbs in changing active to passive form. So like for example, simple present. So in active, once a week, Chris drives the car. In passive, it will become once a week, the car is driven by Chris. Next, simple past. Active is Ralph repaired my bicycle. So in passive, that will become was repaired. Okay. Next, simple future. So Rona will help Gemma at 5 p.m. So here, Gemma will be helped by Rona at 5 p.m. Okay. So again, drives is driven, repaired was repaired, will help will be helped. Okay. Next, we have the present continuous, or that is progressive tenses of the verb. So is writing will become is being written. So the be form plus the past participle of the verb. So always remember, in changing active to passive form, so passive will become the past participle of the verb. Okay? So past, I was closing. Okay? In passive, that is, was being closed. And for the future, will be visiting, that will become will be visited. So again, the be verb plus the past participle of the verb. Alright? And let's call it a day. Grade 8. Again, this is Teacher Mitch, your English teacher. So bye everyone. See you next time.